And so when you're standing up to this person, say, no, wait a minute, I deserve this too. I deserve respect too. I deserve attention too. Right? When you get that way, guess what you're doing to a narcissist? You are giving them exactly what they want without even knowing. They want you to get angry. They want you to engage. They want you to have a conversation with them. They want to prove that they have control of you. So you literally just gave them a buffet to feed exactly what they want.
All right, we're joined again by Lena Sisco, who has been a guest in the past, including a breakdown on John McAfee, whether he was deceptive or not, telling me Game Boy stories that happen in Gitmo, and hanging out with Mark McClish, talking about statement analysis, as well as other episodes. Lena is a popular favorite from way back, and she has a new book. And we're going to discuss this. This is a slight departure from what you normally write, but a lot of what you do kind of fits into the book. Would that be fair, Lena?
Yes, very fair.
Okay, now the book essentially is about dark personalities, and I wanted to get right into it because you went with the Dark Triad, but there's some recent developments that they're saying it's actually a Dark Tetrad, adding sadism to be the fourth element.
Now, this guy Robert Hare, who worked at University of British Columbia as world's leading authority on psychopathy, and he interviewed hundreds and hundreds of psychopaths and was always fooled by them, by the way. And then he had a student, Dale Paulus, who works at UBC, and Paulus developed a model of personality that was based on pathology, like on the dark side. And he called that the Dark Triad.
And in your book, you brought up Ted Bundy, who's a popular example. And I think he might be considered a candidate for the fourth in the tetrad. I know Jim Clemente, who I've interviewed from the FBI, has stated that Ted Bundy very specifically was a sadist, that he actually enjoyed other people's suffering, which is a step beyond a psychopath.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So can we start there? Let's go through the triad to the tetrad and tell us about it.
All right. I will open with this though, because most people don't know this. I did not have the idea to write this book. I am not a psychologist. I will never, you know, portray myself as one. I am an expert in human behavior. I know a lot about people, their thought processes, personality preferences, all that stuff. But I'm not a psychologist. But somebody came to me and said, "Hey, with your background and what you've done and your experience in the box, in the booth, we thought you would be great to write this book. What do you think?" And I said, and I read through it and their proposal, and I said, "Okay, well, I'm writing it because initially the title they gave me almost sounded like it promoted dark psychology." I was like, let's get on the same page here. I do not promote dark psychological tactics." And they're like, "No, no, no, that's not what we mean." And so anyway, we had a great conversation. I said, "You know what? I would love to write this book because in writing even all of my books, I do a ton of research as well. So when I take on a project like this, I'm constantly learning new things. And so this book was a real project of learning a lot of new stuff like the Dark Triad. I did not know such a thing existed. If you asked me, I would have just said, yes, there's psychopaths, there's psychopathy, there's narcissist, and whatever. But the psychologists, I leave that up to them. That's their profession. That's their job. If they want to call it a triad or a whatever, it may become an octagon at one day. I don't know. But the thing that I was really motivated to do in this book is to just say, listen, everybody reading it, you know who I am. I think I have a good following, but this is what the dangers are of these personality traits, right? And so we focus on the Dark Triad because it was brought to me actually by the publishing company. And they said, we really want to focus on this Dark Triad. I said, "Absolutely." And so, yeah, so it wasn't really my choice to focus on the triad. But when we got into it, the book is in 2 parts, and I almost wanted to see, like, a real good divide between part 1 and part 2. It's not there, but whatever. I'm very impressed with Ben Bella Books and what they did with it. But part 1 is all about the behaviors to look out for. And it describes all 3 of those personality traits and disorders in
Can we
detail.
get into that?
All right, well, trait number 1, we did start with narcissist, and the funny thing is, oh gosh, over the years, I think, like, gaslighting has now become this, very popular term on
Mhm.
TikTok. Everybody's talking about gaslighting. Okay, 2 years ago, nobody mentioned that term, and all of a sudden, it's a popular buzzword. I don't know why, don't know what happened.
Johnny Depp, Amber Heard brought that into the forefront.
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit
punched me.
you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
There you go, Eric. Well, that you solved the mystery. Okay. So it's a buzzword now. And when things becomes buzz on social media, everybody thinks they know what they mean. And everybody thinks like, oh, I'm an expert because I started on TikTok 7 times or whatever. Or I watched the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. So I'm an expert in it. And it's very dangerous because, especially with narcissism, I cannot tell you how many people, even in my personal life, will come to me and be like, I'm dating a narcissist, or my friend's a narcissist. And I'm like, okay, hold on, pump the brakes, because there's actually not that many people who have been clinically tapped as having NPD, right? Narcissistic personality disorder.
Especially because there's a lot of narcissism within all of us. I'm doing a YouTube channel. Some people might accuse me of having a touch of that, or many other YouTubers, and they're not necessarily a full-blown narcissist. They just have narcissistic tendencies, which we all kind of do.
Well, let me tell you, most of the world's CEOs and most powerful, successful people are narcissists. We're attracted to narcissists. Why? They're confident, they have charisma, they're go getters, they're risk takers. Now, do you want to marry a narcissist? Probably not. But we are actually attracted to narcissists and the narcissistic tendencies, right? So, when you look at a person like you and I'm on stage all the time. I'm writing books. I love being on podcasts. I love to be on the stage. And I love to share my knowledge with people. Does it make me a narcissist? No, because at the core of me, I have empathy for other people. I do consider my actions and how they affect other people. I'm not self absorbed. At least I'm going to say that. Maybe other people think differently. um, but at the core, I have morals and ethics and empathy. And that's the major thing that I think separates us from a person with NPD. Because a person with NPD, again, they're going to be that completely self absorbed person who believes they truly deserve more and better from everyone and everything. And they have no regard for other people, how they feel, or how their actions are going to hurt them. Totally different, because most people who are go-getters and risk takers and are people like we love to follow, they're innovators, they're out there, they have a moral compass, but a narcissist doesn't. The narcissist will always put themselves first 100% of the time, and they're calculating. So they're constantly thinking, how can I control the situation and the person, right? How can I make it so that they constantly feed my ego and give me the attention that I seek? I don't care about them. I need X and I'm always going to get it. And so which is why it makes relationships are really difficult when you're with a narcissist, because they have to have attention 100% of the time. And it could be negative attention. And so to
Mhm.
constantly feed that it's all about me, it's me, 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 think of me, act for me, give me. With that, it makes it extremely hard to have a relationship with people, because guess what happens? If you're with someone, right, Eric, and you may have met somebody like this who is
Hmm.
constantly needing that affirmation, constantly thinks they're entitled to more than you, it can make you a little upset. It can make you angry, it can make you defensive. And so when
Mhm.
you're standing up to this person, say, "No, wait a minute. I deserve this too. I deserve respect too. I deserve attention too." right? When you get that way, guess what you're doing to a narcissist? You are giving them exactly what they want without even knowing. They
Mm.
want you to get angry. They want you to engage. They want you to have a conversation with them. They want to prove that they have control of you. So you literally just gave them a buffet to feed exactly what they want.
Couple more things that I've observed over time. Number one, narcissists are not all beautiful. A
No.
person may not be good looking and they can be
No.
very narcissistic. It's a matter of everything is going to circle back to them no matter what you do.
Yes.
It'll always circle to them. And sometimes their inroad is through flattery. A narcissist may pour flattery all over you, but watch out for it to be, I always knew. So it still is going to pivot back to them. So as an example, like let's say you're training for a marathon and you win the race and it's your big day. A narcissist will talk about how important they were in the development of your training and their support. So even if you're out there getting a medal for doing this thing, they're going to be pivoting the conversation to themselves and how they made this all possible.
Yes. And the other thing is the reason why I go back to that being attractive to a narcissist. Well, what is the most attractive quality about a human to another human? It's confidence. The most. I talk about this all the time. I teach people how to portray confidence when they need it and to network or whatever. So if a narcissist has to treat other people in a way by using flattery, right? By overloading the charisma, by being really attentive to the other person just to suck you in, then beware because you're meeting that representative. They are doing all of these behaviors to suck you in, to get you committed to them. And then all of a sudden, everything changes. And now comes the no empathy. Now comes the arguing over everything because they have to have it their way and they're in full control and you have no say. And they will call the shots and they will make you look like the crazy person. They will actually make you look like a narcissist and call you a narcissist when that's exactly what they are. Narcissists have this it's so crazy. They will alienate themselves from other people, right? So think about this. They crave attention, but yet their behaviors are so disruptive and hurtful that they tend to alienate themselves. What do they do now? They got to figure out a way to get that attention back. So that's usually when you see all that charisma, the false flattery, the faking promises, all of that stuff. And then once they got you back, now their behaviors go back to the initial narcissistic tendencies that they have because they don't have to put on the show anymore. But everything they do is calculated in, for the purpose of taking control, getting what they want, whether it's money, attention, status, or material items, and making sure that they make everybody else know they're better than you 100% of the time.
Now, go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of what your book is to help warn people or how to cope or
Yes.
deal with them.
Yes.
The flattery period, especially with a narcissist, is very dangerous because it happens like early in a romance or in a
Yeah.
dating, things like that. One thing that I've discovered over time, and it's not 100% foolproof, but if it happens, you'll kind of know, is if you're going out on a date with someone and they're wonderful. I mean, everything is just
Mhm.
clicking.
Yep.
How do they treat the staff? Because that sometimes will tell you, like, if they just are really suddenly shitty to a waiter or waitress
Yeah.
or crude or dismissive, your turn's coming.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Yes, exactly. Because that is the behavior that is at their core. They're putting on a facade to impress you, to control you, to manipulate you. A narcissist manipulates. Regular people don't do that. Okay. Now, there's persuasion, manipulation, completely different. Salespeople persuade all the time. They use persuasion to get you to buy their stuff. Manipulation, though, is at the core hurtful and they don't mind hurting other
I'd
people.
say they're the same thing.
I know it. I could
They're the
tell by your
same,
rolling
but
eyes.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to hide it, but both of them are a manipulation. It's the purpose or the intent.
Yeah,
That's really
I would
the
agree.
difference.
I would agree for that. Yeah. I don't like, well, people, I teach elicitation and they're like, well, it's manipulation. No, it's not. No, it's
Mhm.
actually being able to control a conversation, get what you want, just have the other person not know what it is. If you're using it, like a narcissist will use manipulation for the purposes of hurting other people if they have to put themselves at the forefront, to make, feed their ego, to get what they want. Right? They'll use that because they don't
To
care.
control. It's
It's
usually
good.
out there to control,
100%. Yes, right?
which
But the
leads us
other
to
person may not use it for control, and I'm not gonna manipulate you to put myself forward to have that control to hurt you. I'm doing it because I want you to buy my product. I'm doing it because whatever, I want you to make a certain choice. So
uh,
the intention, completely different.
true. So, okay, let's lead us to the ultimate manipulation.
Oh.
That would be Machiavellian, correct?
Well, I don't know if it's ultimate because they're all different, right? Um, Psychopathy or psychopathy in a psychopath, Machiavellianism is control, but it's also power. So a narcissist think very self-absorbed, self-entitled, feeding ego. They like the control for the purposes of people to revere them, of people to say you're the best, you deserve X, Y, and Z, and they'll take it. A Machiavellians, they are out for power and control. Bernie Madoff is a great example. Anybody into like financial realm?
Bernie Madoff, an American financier who executed the largest Ponzi scheme in history. He attracted thousands of investors to invest billions of dollars in his fake investment projects for more than 17 years.
And has schemed people, commits fraud. You have, what was his name? Z Best Marketing. Barry Minkoff, right? He's a great Ponzi scheme. Bernie Madoff, the ultimate. Because at that point, again, they're taking, they're manipulating, they're lying, they're stealing, they're cheating and committing fraud for the purposes of power. I have all this money. I have
How
all
about
this
Elizabeth
power.
Holmes?
Oh, that's a good one too.
The disgraced tech executive founded the now defunct blood testing startup Theranos. In November, a judge sentenced her to more than 11 years in prison for fraud and conspiracy after she raised many millions of dollars from investors by making false claims about her company.
I never did a lot of study about her. I know her name is around. I pulled her up one time. I got very bored and shut the YouTube off.
Mhm.
But what she did probably could be considered that 100% because it's power.
See, I didn't know. I think there's some bridging between, like,
Yeah.
I've read a million times that every psychopath is a narcissist, but not every narcissist is a psychopath.
Yeah.
As an example,
Yep.
so rolling together Machiavellian, and the reason why I said the ultimate is because they're about manipulation. Like at the core, it's the end justifies the means. Do whatever you can to get to the end that you wish, and they can be a lot more subtle than a narcissist.
Yes, they can be the cunning, right? They can be very cunning and still very charismatic as well because they're out to build trust. Bernie Madoff started as a legit business person. He had the trust of a bunch of people, but then he had that social proof. I mean, Kevin Bacon invested with him. Everybody was like, yeah, this guy, number one, he has social proof. Number two, he actually gives you return on your investment. He's doing what he said he would do. Why would I not trust this guy? And all the while, he's sitting there going, yeah, I get more money. I'll do this. I'll cover up that. And it just kept building and building, and there was no way out. But that's that greed and that power and authority that people want. When you get to psychopathy, now that's dangerous. That's the scary one. And oh, by the way, all psychopaths are not serial killers. There's
No.
psychopaths walking around us every day.
As a matter of fact, you mentioned CEOs and narcissism. Actually, there are a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
psychopath CEOs, but there's other fields too that attracts psychopaths, and it's a good thing. Oddly enough, surgeons. There is a
Get out.
outsized representation with surgeons, but in a quirky way, you actually want that. They you don't need warm bedside manner, but
Okay.
if you're gonna have somebody cut you open, do you
Eh,
want them to be arrogant and narcissistic and afraid to ever lose face? I'm just saying it's so important to them to have no fear when they're doing it. That's another thing with the psychopath. So there is a place for them. Some pilots have been seen as psychopaths.
Yes. The one thing, and you hit it with the no fear. Psychopath has no fear of nothing, which is why good luck ever trying to get the truth out of one. They don't care. There's no moral compass. There's no fear. It is what they do, and that's that. You'll never change that. But the problem with psychopaths that is very scary, and I think is one of the main differences between a narcissist, is that they are extremely aggressive and impulsive with their behaviors. So, although you have no fear, I don't know if I want an aggressive, impulsive person cutting me open. That's the other scary point with and psychopaths have a tendency to be habitually deceitful, like just nonstop. And with them, like a narcissist, you can't change a personality trait. I even listened to a psychologist today on a talk when I was at the gym, and she's like, "You can't. You just can't change a personality trait." And she works with a lot of narcissists, but you can tweak it. Like a narcissist can say, "I did this wrong. I'm going to try to do better," and make little tweaks. But if you think you're in a relationship with a narcissist, they won't change. You just get out of the relationship if it's that bothersome. With a psychopath, there's no tweaking because they will never ever understand right and wrong because they don't have a moral compass. So that's the scary part about the psychopath.
Well, it's moral compass, but also isn't it theory of mind? And
When
a theory of mind is my ability to go, "Oh God, that must have hurt." It's like empathy, but it's the ability to walk in somebody else's shoe, to envision what they're seeing, and it's one of those weird bridges with, I'm not going to say people with autism are like psychopaths, but they both have a theory of mind issue. Some people who are autistic have trouble, understand or relating, and I think that that's some of the psychopathy. It's very difficult for them to understand somebody's feelings when they really don't think beyond their own.
100%. Yep.
What
There's a
little they have.
Yeah, a psychopath has no ability. I just loop it and call everything of like that relating it under empathy. There is none. Absolutely none. A narcissist doesn't have much either, hardly. I'm gonna go out there and say none. Maybe a speck, an ounce, but psychopaths, absolutely none. Doesn't exist in their brain.
Okay, and then I covered the sadist, right
Yes.
when we started, which is not in the book, but I know you mentioned sadism a little bit. Now, one thing you did do in the book, and I think it might be fun here, is I love stories. And you have some stories in there of different people. And can you give me a story about any of these conditions, or a particular story that really hits you home, that bothers you to this day?
Yeah, I will share one because it happened to a close friend of mine. And the trauma that she lived with, and I'm talking for decades, that the trauma from the emotional and physical, unfortunately, abuse that she received from her very high-powered husband, and she became aware of it, got out of the relationship, feared for her life, actually had to build a panic room in her home, um, years later, it manifested itself in this horrible, physical ailments. It was almost like she almost had life-threatening diseases, and this is one of the healthiest people I know on the planet. Doesn't drink alcohol, doesn't use caffeine. I mean, and I'm like, "What?" And she got so sick, life-threatening, and when she finally got help, it was all buried down from deep trauma that had kicked off this autoimmune disease, and it was just terrible. Now, and so I've known her for years, and I'm going to say there was a chunk of about 5 years when she was going through this. It kind of the onset came when I first met her. Got severely bad. Now she's on the other end. And when I go back to see her, the transformation physically is mind blowing. But what happened was she was married to a narcissist. I yeah, I don't know if I would label him a psychopath, but there's no because he does have empathy for his children, but not her. What he was out for was to have complete and utter control over her 100% of the time. Even to this day, as she's married with another guy, he will not let her go. Constant sends her love notes because they share children together, um, constantly because she was his conquest and she left him. When they were going through the divorce, he very high-powered job, I can't say too much because I wanna protect her, but very high-powered job. He quit before it went to trial and made it look as though he had no income. She had a little income, and because she was the only person in this partnership that had income, she had to pay him child support. I mean, the stuff was mind-blowing. He knew how to work the court system. He knew how to work everyone because, again, he was charming. Everybody loved him. His family was affluent, so there's no way that him and his family could do anything wrong. And it was just the trauma that she experienced. And of course, add on the physical abuse to keep her in control that no one ever talked about and nobody in the courts believed. It was a bad situation, a really bad situation. There's a bunch of people, all names have been changed, that have shared stories from work-related in the military to, just regular women, dating, disasters, all of this stuff. It's not Hollywood. This is stuff that's happening, like, to your next door neighbor. And although they'll come out and put on this brave face, as my friend did for years, I never knew about any of this until she opened up and said, "Hey, listen, this is what happened to me years ago." I was like, "Oh my god." Um, but there are people living around us who put on that brave face, but who go back home and behind closed doors are dealing with a narcissistic person, a controlling person, an abusive person, people who are gaslighting. I know that's become another buzzword. I've been teaching it for years, but that's a dangerous, dangerous game. Dangerous game.
In your book, I haven't gotten through all of it, I confess. Did you get into flying monkeys?
No, like Wizard of Oz.
It does come from Wizard of Oz, but
Okay, do tell.
it's allies of a narcissist.
Oh, interesting.
Essentially,
Yeah.
people who they recruit
Yep.
or control who will help reinforce what
Yeah.
they are doing. For example, your friend you were talking about, um, her husband, I don't know any of this, but
Yeah.
he may have been telling his siblings that, "Oh my god, she's just crazy. She's just bonkers." And then they will go against her and say, "What's wrong with you? Why are you always doing this to him? What
He
is
did.
going on?"
He
Is that
told
something you feel with you?
Oh, yeah, he told his very affluent parents, who will not speak to her to this day, but at least contribute to their children's college fund because they're extremely wealthy. Oh, yeah, those were his 2 flying monkeys in his pocket, 100%. People that he used to work with, and tried to use the son as a flying monkey as well.
I that I think actually happens more
Mhm.
often than not in,
Yep.
sadly, marriage breakups is the kids being
Yes.
used by one partner or another against the
Oh,
other.
yes. Mhm.
So that's
Yep.
and that might not even be a narcissist, that's just
Yeah.
some
That's
bad parenting or bad moves.
There you
But
go.
you
Yeah.
mentioned gaslighting. It is a favorite term. Do you have a good gaslighting story where we can look at the progression of, if you will, a relationship and how this happened?
So there's, that I train law enforcement in my strategic interviewing course, and I do case studies. And there's one case study, it's old but good. And well, actually, two. The first one involves Drew Peterson, who I talk about all the time. He's in jail right
Mm.
now. Um, his gaslight was always, I call gaslighting a smokescreen too, right? It's a ruse or a disguise to make people doubt their own memory and especially doubt their sanity. The movie Girl on a Train is a girl with Emily, Blunt. Perfect, perfect, perfect movie for gaslighting. Husband makes everybody think that she's just an alcoholic and can't remember stuff when it's actually his controlling behavior. That was the problem of their marriage. Anyway, with Drew Peterson, this whole smokescreen and gaslighting was he was a cop. And because of his cop, he actually said in an interview years ago with Larry King, deceased, that, I'm not a common person. I don't work for the phone company and I don't work for the gas company. I'm a cop. Right. Oh, I'm like, seriously, just telling everybody. He put himself so much higher. But because when his fourth wife went missing, never found to this day, he in these interviews would tell us, well, we had her heavily medicated because after her sister's death, she was really upset, like to the point of just, suicidal. So she was medicated. She wasn't thinking clearly. She's just blah, 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 blah. But I'm a cop. You should trust me. That's a quintessential example of a smokescreen and a gaslight. Gaslighting, the term, comes to that 1944 movie, Gaslight. And it's when people will work. I think I bring in another term called the misinformation effect. It's when they will do things to purposely try to change your memory, create the memory trust syndrome. And it's called the misinformation effect with Elizabeth Loftus, a psychologist who's done tons of work in that area. But it's making you think you are losing your mind. You're losing your sanity because of what they're doing. In the movie, the husband married this woman. He wanted to steal her fortune. So the only way to do that is to lock her up and put her away for being crazy. So he started turning off and on gas lamps. And flickering the lights. And she would say, "Why are the lights flickering?" He'd be like, "What are you talking about? They're not flickering. They're fine." Making noises in the attic, like all this crazy stuff. And she literally started losing her mind just to steal her fortune. So it's when people will purposely manipulate you, get you to doubt your sanity, and create up a story about you as for fill in the blank to steal from you, to get what they want, to lie from you, whatever, to take your job, to take advantage of you. That's the gaslight.
Now, I don't know if you can answer this or not because it's kind of tricky. What would you look for, or what behaviors would you look for in a friend that could be flags that they are, in fact, being gaslighted and not be aware of it?
Well, all right. So the friend not gaslighting you, but your friend's actually being gaslit.
Right. You're worried that your friend something's going on, and
So the first thing you're not going to know unless this friend trusts you and to have an open conversation with you. Like when I found out that my close friend, what she endured, um, the husband, after it all came to light, she got her divorce, was speaking to everyone saying she's crazy. She was just after this. This is what she did to me, blah, blah, blah. Right. But if your friend the behavior is going to change. So they're going to become more introverted. They're going to be walking on eggshells. They're going to alienate themselves, right? I've seen people completely say, I don't go out with my friends anymore. I stay at home. I have to ask permission to go out and do something. So these behaviors of a very cautious, careful person, but cautious because with their partner shouldn't be there. If all of a sudden that changes and your friend is saying, "Oh, I can't because Rob said, it's not my night to go out. He doesn't want me going out with the girls. He blah, blah, blah." These massive shifts in their behaviors is the flag number one. How they talk to you, how much time they spend with you, what they're willing to say, their personality, their demeanor, their emotions. You will notice a change in your friend. And if it's going for the worse and they are withdrawing, I would say that's the number one indicator. If they are withdrawing from society, right, and being social, tap into it, have a conversation with them, find out what's going on.
that's my next question. So, how do
Yeah.
you approach them without scaring them off or making them feel re-victimized
Mhm.
themselves? Because sometimes trying to help somebody, you may make them feel like you're attacking them or something else. So, what would you recommend to? What would be a good approach?
Yeah. I'm going to call it indirect reference. It's actually an elicitation technique. But what I find is easier because if you come out and bring it up, that person's already feeling horrible to begin with, right? They know something's wrong. They're alienating themselves for the purpose of saving face. It's too embarrassing. Whatever it is, right? They're not strong enough. So if you bring it up, you could impact all of those negative emotions and just make them that much worse. So what I like to do is talk about it indirectly, meaning if for me, in my case, it's easy. I just wrote a book on this stuff. I could bring it up and say, hey, I had a good friend. She shared her story. I knew her for 6 years and I never knew what she went through. It was unbelievable. Right. And maybe take that angle. And as I talk about it very openly, talk about it with no blaming, no judging, it's a very, secure and safe environment. I'll engage them to see if they're going to be willing to open up. A lot of times people are, because again, it's not about you. Like if I was talking to you, Eric, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the thing being gaslit, being manipulated, being hurt, but to somebody else. So it's an indirect reference. I could bring up Girl on a Train. I just watched this movie last night. God, could you imagine people going through that real life? I don't think I could survive it. And if I show vulnerability to my friend saying, I don't think I could survive it, then she or he may feel safe enough to say, I don't think I am because this is what I'm going through. So you bring it up indirectly.
Do you also just kind of bring it up, leave it out there, and don't bring it up again? Give them time to come around. Like, don't expect it to be the exact same conversation.
Yeah, no.
Everything falls into place.
Everything will fall into place. When they're ready, they're ready. Like the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? Don't be pushy. I would say be persistent,
Mhm.
but don't be pushy because if that person already is feeling manipulated, controlled, deceived, and you're going to push them, it's just creating a tornado of negative emotions and they may withdraw even more.
Did you get into Darvo at all?
No,
No? Okay.
no.
That's another term that came up a lot with, Johnny Depp, whatever, and
Uh, What is
it
it?
stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender.
Oh, wow, that's a lot. That is
It's an
a lot.
actual thing, but again, it's in that manipulation of,
Yeah,
I mean, you can fall under gaslighting, I'd say that's part of it, but it's reversing,
it is reversed,
like you
yeah.
described with your friend, she could have been seen possibly as a victim of Darvo.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like in that case, right? Is it a coincidence Amber Heard had her cell phone on record every time they fought? No. This
Mhm.
is thought out and planned. If people are planning this, right, it's a ruse, it's a disguise, it's a smokescreen in order to control a narrative, to control how people are perceived. She did it with intention. She intently deceived people. Now, the fights probably happened. I'm not saying they didn't, but what was the basis of it? And why was she recording it? Because she knew that all that information would make her look good. My smokescreen. He's the bad guy. You can hear him. Yeah.
You brought up just now a really, I think, important point, and with all your law enforcement experience and etc., would you agree we should always be cognizant of when one party knows that there's a recording and the other party does not?
Meaning,
Meaning that if just like you said with Amber
yeah,
Heard,
yeah, yep.
Johnny Depp did not know he was being recorded,
No.
but she knew she was being recorded. That can be rolled out to other cases where
Oh,
when
yes.
somebody is knowingly recording something, should there always be a grain of salt? You need to investigate further to make sure that they're not actually manipulating the situation to achieve a certain result.
100%. As Lance Armstrong said. Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. Because if this person is knows they're being recorded, they're going to censor their behaviors. They can control that narrative and that dialogue to wherever they want it to go. They know how to push the buttons of the person they're with, and they'll do it purposely, but they'll sound like me doing it. Oh, babe, it's okay. Why do you, right? And then you have a court and they're listening to this and say, "Oh, wow, she's not fighting. She's not raising her voice. She's not using curse words. She sounds empathetic, like she's really trying to work this out. But meanwhile, I know exactly what to say to piss you off. And I know exactly what to do to get you so mad to start the fight. And then people think you're the monster."
And
Absolutely.
if it's audio only, it can be even more
Oh,
effective because you
oh,
can't
yeah.
see expressions and you can't see gestures, you can't see eye rolling, like,
Yep.
yeah, a lot of, contempt, etcetera.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I wanted to bring that up because I feel like there are some videos out there in the public, I'm not gonna name them all, but, where one party is recording it, and generally that party gets some more sympathy over the other, but I think we should always step back and just go, "Hmm, is it
Please.
possible?"
Yes, please do. Listen, especially in my line of work, this is what I do. In any investigation, you have got to take an objective view, number one, but you also have to take into account everything, the context of the situation and information. Well, the context of that is that person knew they were being recorded and the other person didn't. So the person who knew that they were being recorded is, of course, going to put on their best behavior. You're going to hear and see the representative and not the other person is just being them, explosive or not. But
Mm.
yeah, it's a whole advantage completely. It's a manipulation tactic.
Now, that's not to say that there are not legitimate recordings where, "Oh my
True.
god, I'm scared, let me put my phone up, he's breaking in the house, he's beating on the door, oh my god, what do I do?"
Yes.
Or whatever, so, absolutely can be true, but I think we
Absolutely.
everything needs to be investigated with
Yeah.
as much context as humanly possible.
There was, I love, I just got done teaching last week, which is why it's fresh in my mind, but I tell people I love analyzing 911 calls. I can pretty much tell when they're fake and when it's real. And one key thing is exact the words that they use, right? Little statement analysis, but it's the emotion. What do you hear? Is it a contrived wail, which I have a good example of, and I play in my classes. It's hysterical, actually. The word order, what's going on in the background. You have to pay attention to levels of messages, verbal and nonverbal, but a 911 call is just verbal. But how do they sound, right? Because you can hear an emotion, you absolutely can hear an emotion. And is it congruent with what they're saying? Does it really make sense? This one guy, he's in prison. It was on Dateline, I think. Lars, it's so he does a 911 call. He shot his wife in the chest in the dark with a shotgun, went back to the bedroom to grab a handgun and then notice, oh, I shot my wife, right? Yeah, he did. He's in prison, failed his poly and all this other stuff. His 911 call, it's so, I mean, I laugh. He actually says, "I'm a male, she's a female." And the 911 operator is like, "I know, that not my wife, right? Not my name, not where I'm at, not an address, like, get it total distancing." But then he does this wail. "Oh, I don't think she's breathing. Oh," and it just is so forced and contrived, fake, right? You can hear this. You can hear the legitimacy of true emotions in people's voice. So when you get to those recordings, you have to listen for that.
Another tell on them, correct me if I'm wrong, is if they give biographical information or introductory information ahead of the incident, that's
Mhm.
a bad sign. If they're saying, she's not breathing, I need help. Usually the operator should be dragging information out of them because they're in a stressful state. Not, I came home, I was running late, and there was these shots, I don't know, and oh my God, she's hit.
Yeah.
That might be a little bit suspect.
Could be, right? I've called 911 a couple of times from shots outside my door to bullet casings to drunk drivers. I initially start with I do name really quick. Hi, Lena Sisco. There's a drunk driver. I'm right behind him. They just ran into the guardrail. I'm on. It was actually in Hampton. I
You're
was
law
on.
enforcement.
I know. I know.
So you're going to
So
know the code.
that little caveat, like, I know what a 911 operator needs ASAP. They need a
Mhm.
location. They need to know who you are, where you are, because if they're going to just dispatch, whether it's an EMT, whether it's police, they got to go somewhere, right? But in people who have that trauma and that shock, you're going to hear legitimate emotion. Again, it's going to be congruent. It's not going to sound contrived. I've also analyzed 911 calls where the wailing and the just repetitive of, "Oh my god, I think they're dead, I need help," and never once, right, saying, "Send somebody to here," just as repetition. Why'd you call 911? Just to vent? Like, just to what? Because your whole purpose of calling 911 is to get help. You can't get help if you're not willing to talk about it or say where you are. Um, these were and there was this one big case that went to court and that the woman got in prison. She got 2 sentences for killing her boyfriend because even listening to the 911 call, it was so fake, so contrived. The emotion was not legitimate. But that's just something I'm in tune to. It's what I do.
There ever been people wrong about a 911 call? Like the person calling in sounds completely wrong, but they in fact are not guilty.
Yeah.
They did not do it.
Gosh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because I
Nothing
think
in the world is 100%, I'll tell you that. There have been people who will say, "No, they sounded way too calm. They couldn't have XYZ." Well, it could have been shock, could have been trauma, their personality. Um, there have been people, you have this image of what a person how they should act, how they should be. But we're all different. I mean, we're talking about narcissists and Machiavellianists and psychopaths. They're not anything like a normal, I say that with air quotes, person. So you have to look at we all have I mean, there's types A, B, C, and D. There's the 5-factor ocean model. There's personality traits, so many different traits where we have different communication styles. So you have to take all that into account. You can't just read a person. You can't say, well, I would have done this, so they should have done that. Doesn't work. Humans are very complex and very different.
okay, and I remember and I think he talked about in an interview with me, the late Peter Hyatt um
Yes.
had a story about an individual whose son was murdered. And when he spoke to him, he was being deceptive.
Mhm.
And it turns out that he did not murder his son, but he was a junkie.
Uh-huh.
And he was
Yep.
taking drugs or getting high, shooting up something
Yes.
at the time. And so he was hiding what he was doing. And then that
Yes.
led into the misanalysis of
Mm.
whether he actually killed his son.
Context, context, context. You have to consider the context. I was talking to one of my students the other day, and he said, it's so funny because this woman came in willingly down to the police station. It was like 2:30. She was talking, everything. She was open. She was calm, confident, forthcoming. And as the hour started to creep past 3 o'clock, she was tight-lipped, shifty, mood swing, like all this stuff. Well, come to find out, she was too afraid to tell the police officer that she had to pick up her child at school. And so this worry of my I got to pick up my child, I got to pick up my child impacted her whole entire behavior and demeanor. And so the officer was like, "Whoa, this is shifty behavior." But it was only because she was too afraid to say, "I have to go now and pick up my daughter."
Question for
Yeah,
you on that front.
yeah.
How do you approach somebody whose behavior is careening off or is odd to get the real reason behind it, be it they're guilty of something or
Yep.
if they're not, it's just something else going on. How do you get to the bottom of it?
I have one favorite question. How do you feel right now? That's it. And I stop talking. Because if I notice a shift in you, Eric, right? Like you keep looking, your eye contact keeps shifting and watching the time or whatever. I'm like, Eric, how do you feel right now? You may say, oh, listen, it's getting time. We got to cut it. And I'm like, well, that explains the behavior then, avoiding eye contact. He's not avoiding eye contact with me because he doesn't want to talk to me or he's lying to me. He's watching the clock. So, how do you feel right now? When you see the shift in behavior, when you ask that question, it should allow that person to open up and talk.
And then you said you don't say anything. Is that to give an uncomfortable space where they have to hopefully fill it with
Yes.
whatever the reason is?
Yes. Exactly. I say the first person who talks loses, and it's not going to be me. Right? I asked an interrogative question. I'm not going to talk again until I got the answer. That's that.
Interesting. That they say in politics, if you're explaining, you're losing.
I know, right? Well, that's politics. That's a whole different question. This is true. Yes. Now, explaining versus defending, right? Defending, I don't like. And I hope you
Mhm.
can't hear my lawn guy. He's right outside my window. But explaining, I like because explaining is details, it's facts. Defending is emotion.
On that note, and I know we're going all over the place, but it's been
I
a
know it.
while. Um,
That's all right.
because you mentioned in the book, and I'm glad you did, where
Yeah.
people are being deceptive will have too little, or sometimes they will give too much information.
Yes.
However, I've interviewed Aldert Vray. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like the deception scientist. He
Yeah.
actually does studies and whatnot.
Wait a minute. Wow. I'm friends with him on LinkedIn. I can never pronounce his name though. And he does all the studies in Portsmouth, England, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's Vray. I know it
Right.
like bray, like a like a
Oh,
animal braise, Vray
oh,
with a
I
V.
wanna say yeah,
Yeah, it's spelled VRIG,
yeah,
and it's Aldert, which is odd, but
Aldrich,
it's not a
yeah,
B, it's a D. But
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, he pointed out though that truthful people will often add more information as they remember, because you keep
Yep.
asking them, well, what happened next? Did you see something? What happened next? Did you see something? So sometimes um, it may be honesty that will have them come up with more and more information as you keep asking.
Do I know the difference between whether it's a truthful person saying, "Oh, I remember this, I remember that," and keeps adding, or a deceptive person trying to convince you
I
of
want
the
you to
fact
tell us
that
how
they
you can tell.
this is it. So, a truthful person remembers from the episodic memory. Okay. So, there's a lot of details packed in that episodic memory. They're drawn down, they're delivering them. So, good, pertinent information. A deceptive person is accessing their semantic memory. There's not a lot of information there. Couple of little details, and they're not even autobiographical. So this person doesn't even know much about the details there. So if they keep ad libbing, what I call that information is fluff. It's very technical, I know, but it's nothing. It doesn't answer a requirement. It's not answering my question. It's definitely not a detail. So a truthful person will give pertinent details, information that I can use and work with. The liar is giving me fluff, padded, embellished, nonsense information. And that's how you can tell.
And this interview is not fluff.
It's not
It's
fluff.
um it's funny because you say fluff, behavior panel or Greg Hartley and them. I think they say flack.
Flack.
Uh,
Oh,
whatever they, when the planes shoot things out so the missile doesn't hit them.
oh, no, I want to say not chaff. I know what you mean, but I don't have the word.
I thought it was flack. I forget now. Yeah. Anyway, it's just interesting the different
Yeah,
terminologies. So, okay,
yeah,
what I like to wrap up with
yeah.
is ask a question of you, essentially, what is the one question that I should have asked you but I neglected to? Or as a variant, what is one question that you've been waiting for somebody to ask you, period, that hasn't been asked yet?
Hmm. What is the theme of your next book? Because I'm super excited about this one. But I think a lot of times when I talk about a book, nobody thinks, "Oh, do you have an idea for another one, a follow on?" And I do. Yeah. This one is about it's more of a self-help book. It's nothing to do. It's a complete deviation, a pivot, I call it. It's a good pivot from detecting deception and all that. It's focusing on the one thing that drives human behavior. So after I got done with this book and all of that yucky stuff with psychopaths and narcissists and people who want to control and manipulate and all that, and then the part two again is how to handle that. right? How to control a narrative, how to use elicitation, how to use embedded commands, how to make sure and position yourself so that you protect yourself, stay safe, number one, know when to get out, number two, and then at the end, how to power back up that resilience, right? So part two is really my forte. I love that. Part one, I did a lot of research and interviews with. Part two is my stuff and what I think truly helps people to overcome those awful relationships and be stronger. So when I was really diving deep into that, I thought, there's a bigger thing that I can write about to help people. And that is more not dealing with interacting with relationships, but the self awareness, that relationship that you almost have with yourself. It's being able to handle anything that comes your way by doing one thing. And here's the secret, Eric, nobody else can help you do it, only you. And so that is going to be my fifth book. I've already titled it Override Your Mind. I do talk about neuroplasticity in there and how to change your brain's chemistry. So good stuff for anyone to use in their life.
So is it essentially about internalization?
Um, Kinda. It's
Because
focused on that.
the only thing you can control is yourself and how you react to things. You
Yes.
can't control anybody else, essentially.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, but by controlling yourself, right, and your behaviors, and the one secret thing that controls all of our behaviors helps us take control of our environment and the people within it. So that's the fifth book.
Awesome. But it's gonna take you a while to finish that
It
book.
is going to take
And
me
for
minutes.
people
So,
who
yeah,
want to have a book now that
yeah,
we spoke about, it
yes.
is the 13 Power Moves of Dark Psychology. Learn the tricks to protect yourself from abuse and covertly influence anyone. Available for pre-order on Amazon. It will officially be delivered on my birthday, July 8th.
Yeah.
But you can pre-order it now, and I like to stress, if it does seem like something you're interested in and you want to pre-order it, it helps Lena out a lot. The more pre-orders she has, because if enough pre-orders hit, she can become what's known as a category bestseller. And that helps move the book up the line because there's a bunch of people that order that first day. So, hey, today it's really selling well. Then she can note that it's a bestseller and that can help her sell more in the
And I
future.
would
So,
be thankful and appreciative of that.
just like we are thankful and appreciative of your time today.
Thank you.
And we'll have to not have so much distance between interviews.
Yes, I agree. I'll hit you up again.